Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
It's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and
Master Plo Koon
in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Hey, it's Leif Gaffert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek Podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek Podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek Podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Ruari Williamson.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek Podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have actor TJ Del Reno, best known as the voice of Regulus in YuGiOh 5Ds, Goer in Grand Theft Auto 5, Bahama Mamas Club Guido in Grand Theft Auto 4, The Ballad of Gay Tony, Ricky in Bully, and Harry in Free Delivery. He also played TJ in With Friends Like These. How are you today, sir?
I am great. It's so funny. I forgot half of the stuff that you just said. I was like, oh, that's right.
Nice. How could you forget two Grand Theft Auto games as well as YuGiOh, though?
It's true. Those I don't. I forgot about 3 Delivery for Nickelodeon. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then Random Grunts for Pokemon is the other thing that's not really... I think that's on IMDb, but I was just like uncredited, like just, you know, random street thugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it is actually listed on your IMDb credits, Pokemon, but it just says voice in these episodes. It doesn't even say grunts.
No.
Yeah, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's how unimportant I was in those episodes, I think.
Yeah. Then again, it's also a thing with shows like YuGiOh and Pokemon, like the end credits like list the cast members, but they don't list the characters, which is something that has always bothered me about those shows.
Oh yeah, because you never know exactly. It's like I like doing that hunting for your name in the credits. You're like, oh, there it is. Yeah, you're right about those. When it doesn't say, just a group of voices.
Yeah, at least with Regulus, you know, I mean, you put it in your resume. That's how people found out that you were Regulus, and you know, it was a more notable role than a few grunts, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to do a ton of other anime, like random anime movies, where I would just be, just like in a cafe, like, you know, the simple voice in the cafe, like, what is, like, if there's an explosion in the city, I was like one of the voices of like, what is that? Oh no, look out.
That's also pretty notable.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. It's like someone's like, oh, who said, what is that? I'm like, oh, that was me.
Yeah, I'd be like one of very few people on the planet that would try to search out those people.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah, I clearly don't have anything else to do, but interviewing is fun, and I like hearing people's stories.
Sweet. Yeah, I like that.
So, speaking of stories, for some of our listeners who may not be familiar with your background, can you tell us how you got into acting?
Yeah. So what it was ever since I grew up in New Jersey, and I went to art school when I was 21, and I never wanted to do comedy or acting or voiceover or any of this stuff. I just wanted to work for Marvel and just like draw. And when I got into art school, I was always funny in school. Like, I was always a funny kid around my friends, but I never wanted to do comedy. I loved sketch. Like, Monty Python was one of my favorite. They still are my favorite, like, sketch group. And when I got into art school, after like 2 years in, I went and did stand-up. My friend was like, let's just write stand-up and do it at like a coffee house. So I was like, all right. So I did stand-up, and I loved it. I got this like adrenaline rush of, you know, it just was such a different feeling. And then I started doing improv comedy as well at my college, which is the Pratt Institute. And as I went through, I was, you know, doing comedy, doing rooms, doing improv, and my illustration teacher this woman named Cheryl Gross. She was like, "You have a great voice. Why don't you do radio?" And I was like, "I don't know. What do you mean just do radio?" I was like, "I don't know what that means." And she's like, "I don't know. You should find like a radio agent or do radio commercials. Like, you have a great voice." So I did these like weird seminars, and then found someone referred me to my agent, who I've been with since 2004. And as I did it, right now my voice sounds terrible because of allergies and stuff, which is why I sound like a demon, sort of. But I just met with my agent, and then they referred me and started sending me out to do commercial work. And I did a ton of stuff I was the voice of Capri Sun. I was the tagline to Capri Sun, the respect the pouch. That was me, where it's like, respect the pouch, respect it. That was me. Then I did a bunch of like Dan and Danimals. I was the voice of the announcer for that. So it just was this rolling thing that I started doing a ton of commercial, AT&T, McDonald's, Subway. I still do a bunch of that now. Like I have Subway ads that are running on for VO. There's a Febreze TV ad that's on, but it's a lot of commercial work. And then I just fell into cartoons from a girl I was dating did stuff for Pokemon and a bunch of these anime shows through this company called NYAV Post. And Mike Sinter-Nicholas, who does the voice of Dean Venture on the Venture Brothers, became a buddy of mine because that's his studio. And I just, started doing little cartoon stuff every now and then I stayed friends with the producers. But I don't do as much cartoon stuff as I used to. I do more commercial stuff now. But yeah, that's about where I'm at. Yeah, that's my story.
That's the whole life story. Like, you started with how you got into it, like finding out about it, and now you're getting all the way to where you're at currently. That was a very well-rounded story. You should be a storyteller.
Oh, I should. I wrote it all down, and I'm reading off my bullet points.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting that you got into the industry, like, because you wanted to work for Marvel, no matter what it was in Marvel that you did. That's really interesting, and hopefully you do get a voice work in Marvel someday. Then the circle will be complete.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. I never wanted to do any of this stuff. Like, I didn't do plays in school. I'm a drummer. I was just like, I taught myself drums when I was 16, but I was just like this mall rat. Like, I'm 35, so I grew up on like Nirvana and Green Day. I was just this mall rat, slacker kid in school that I didn't pay attention in school. I just drew. All day I would just draw and draw and draw. And it's interesting moving to New York City and going to college and then finding this other outlet that I was like, oh, I'd rather do comedy. And then when I fell into voiceover, I was like, I love doing voiceover. I was like, oh, I just want to do voiceover. So it's such an interesting thing where your life takes you all these different, you're going one way and then something happens and you fall into it the other way. I fell into all this stuff. It's kind of crazy, sort of.
Yeah, it does go to show, though, that, anything can happen to a person at any stage. Life isn't planned out. You can just suddenly get hit like that, like you have multiple times with, things you want to do, which is great, really. Yeah,
it is. And it's doing acting in VO, doing acting and voiceover and stand-up and all that stuff. It's so, you can make, for voiceover, I'm a working actor, which is, there's not a lot of people in the city that could say that. And it's such a hard, I've had so many ups and downs, but it's such a hard thing to consistently do, because you can't do, I can't do anything to get myself voiceover work. It's all my agent. So it's like, imagine if whatever job any of the listeners had, like, imagine if you worked, you're going to work. You're like, I have to go to work tomorrow, and it sucks, but you're like, well, I work 8 hours tomorrow, and then 40 hours later, I get a check. It's like, I literally am home waiting for an email that's like, hey, here's a Subway VO, like, audition. And I'm like, oh, I hope I get it. And it's like competing, with me versus 5, 6, 7, 800 people from LA and New York trying to do this one job. So it's stressful, but I never think about it. I just do the audition, and I'm like, I just condition myself to never think about it. I record the audition, I let it go, it's gone. I'm like, whatever. If I get it, great, but I just never concern myself with it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us how you were originally cast as the voice of Regulus in 5Ds?
Yeah, so with that one, I always grew up on Pokemon and I knew of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I never really watched Yu-Gi-Oh 5D or Yu-Gi-Oh. Pokemon I did all through high school. I watched Pokemon. I still play Pokemon Moon I'm playing now on 3DS. I'm a huge gamer as well. But I did this stand-up show that one of my buddies ran at this comedy club room in New York City. And in one of my jokes, I'm making fun of like the Metro Transit Authority, like the MTA subway. And as I'm doing it, it's a joke where like I ask an old man for directions, and he's like, "Oh yes, I've heard of that. Yes, come closer." So it's just like this old man voice that I just did on stage, which I don't do a lot of voices on stage at all. I never do. That's the only time I ever do like sort of a voice. So I did this. I did the bit, and when the show was over, I forgot what the woman's name was, but this woman came up to me after. She was like, "Hey, do you have an agent?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm with innovative artists." And she was like, "Oh, great, okay, excellent." She was like, "I want you. Can you come in and record this voice? Because for this character on Yu-Gi-Oh 5D." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And she was like, "Yeah, when you did that old man voice like that, like that's the kind of voice I want for this character." And I've been auditioning people, but we have some people we want, but I really like your voice. So I was like, sure. And then I went into the place and I thought it was an audition. So I walked in just like when you walk into an audition, it's a room full of people and like a bunch of actors that you're competing with. And I walked in and they just like sent me back to the studio. And I walked in, like, I didn't think I was booked. I thought it was an audition. So I was like, whatever. And I was like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Where's everyone else?" And she was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, where's the other actors? Is this an audition?" She was like, "No, you're booked. I want you to do, that character." And I was like, okay. So it was like such a, quick thing. But when I saw the character was a lion, we did that voice where I did the voice of him like this. But then for some reason, he looked more of like a monster. He's a lion. So that's when I just was like, "Oh, here we go with that one now." And I just did that, which is a tough voice on my vocal cords to do, which I regretted immediately after like an hour of recording. I was like, "Oh, what did I do?"
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. I mean, that's such a really great story though about how you got the role
Yeah.
because like it all just came from a little bit you did. I mean, from the
Yeah.
sound of it, it wasn't even a big part of the show. It was
Nah.
just like a one line or two in an old man voice, and they
Yep.
they really liked that. Like, that's so cool. And the fact you didn't have to audition, you just got the role.
Yeah, I just got
Because
it.
of that. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it never that's and by the way, that's never happened again after that. That was such a weird fluke one-off thing. And then she doesn't work for the studio anymore. We did that, we recorded it, it was done, and I was all psyched because I'm like, I was doing stand-up and anime conventions with I have like a stand-up comedy group that I used to tour at anime conventions called Plus Two Comedy, and that's me and two other comics. And I was so psyched because I was like, "Oh my god, if I'm like Regulus will like come back, I'm gonna be like a series regular, and then I could like get more like anime con gigs to do stand up." Like I was so excited, but then she left the company to go somewhere else. I think she moved to like L.A. And then Regulus, I don't think ever came back after those episodes, or maybe he did, but they probably hired someone else, which sucks all the time.
Well, there was the 3 or 4 episodes in the other world, the spirit world.
Yeah.
Then he came back once in one episode and had 2 lines, and then came back once in another episode and had 2 lines. But that was all your voice. Like I
Oh
wouldn't
yeah.
recognized it. So, like,
Oh good.
but that last appearance was episode 78. I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure if he returned again after that episode. Like,
Yeah.
it's tough because 5Ds had quite a few issues in the dub, like in the sense
Yeah.
that there was low ratings, so they skipped like 10 episodes of the dub to try and finish it. And then the ratings kept getting worse, so they had to cancel it with like 10, 15 episodes left. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Regulus was meant to return again. Like, it
I
was
don't know.
disappointing because like I'm pretty sure all of Regulus's episodes you did do, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say. But like, it was disappointing. I can understand that because like I was like, in those Spirit World episodes, like, I mean, he just immediately stood out to me. I thought the
Yeah.
voice you did was really great. And I can definitely understand why it hurt your vocal cords, but it was
Yeah.
really good at the end of the day.
Oh, thanks, man.
But then, like, you only had those 2 other episodes with, like, 2 lines in them. So, you know, but still, like, it was disappointing we didn't get to see more of him, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wish there was a little more to do just because it's so fun. But when you go into do those roles, it's just, you don't get the script the night before. You don't you don't know anything. You're just going in. Like, you literally are directed the line right before. It's like if your line is like, well, we have to go into the spirit world to get something, to get this piece. It's like you know a second before, like, oh, by the way, your next line is you're going into the spirit world, and then they give you context, just like, so you're kind of stressed out because, like, the kids that you're trying to protect are like, you're stressed about. So you're literally acting within a split second of like, okay, now be mad and yell this line, and you're like, okay. And I'm not a trained actor. I was I'm a comedian and improviser, and it's like, I didn't go to acting school, so it's taking direction is really, I can take it, but it's very hard to be convincing just because I don't have acting chops. I just learned all this on my own. But yeah, it's such a hard part to just, like, do it. No, don't do this. You're like,
Would you say that was the biggest challenge you faced while working on Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for YuGiOh, that was the big, because it's the only character I did. But yeah, like, it's not blowing my voice out. That's really hard. But also, yeah, even when I did Bully for Rockstar, and I do and any video games and things I did, like I said, like, you have to completely act in a split second, and since if you're not the main character going through the whole thing, like Regulus was like bits, like he came in here, did this, and came back. It's like the lines are like, everything is out of context. So it's like, if the first line is like, oh no, here they come, the next line might be like, hey, who are you? Like, oh, I just met you. And it's like, you have to do these like split second acting changes to be like, all right, now you're like this, now you're like this, now you're happy, now you're a little sad, now you're like kind of annoyed. And it's like, you don't know the context much before to be like, wait, what happened? Like, fill me in on what happened with these guys, so I know, like, kind of where this character should be. And you just don't know. It's like the line is just like, oh no. Like, if a line's like, oh no, you might be like, well, what's the context? Is it like, oh no, one of the kids are dead? Oh no, I'm injured? Oh no, we failed? It's just like, then they're just like, oh yeah, it's, oh no, you failed. And you're like, oh, great. Give me a second. And then you gotta, like, shift your brain to be like, do it like this. And then just, like, do that next line, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like, that is
Cool.
the tricky thing, because of course you have to do multiple takes, I imagine, and
Yeah.
With slight variations every time, but still along the same lines in a way.
Yeah, you definitely do. And doing so much commercial voiceover that I've done, like, it wasn't that far off to do that kind of acting, because as a commercial, doing commercials is straight up that. It's like, if the line is like, wow, you stole my pizza. Like, if that's the line in commercials, they're like, cool, give us like 3 in a row, like one where you're kind of annoyed, one where you're fine with it, and one where you're not. And you have to just be like, can I have my pizza? And then you're like, can I have my pizza? It's like, can I have my pizza? So it's like, I was able to do that, but the voice was challenging to keep up, because I kept thinking, I'm like, I'm gonna blow my cords, and it's, I'm never gonna do this again. Or if I'm a bad actor, I'm like, oh, what if I'm a bad actor? And she's just like, thank you. And then I record one day, and she hires someone else to come in and record. Like, it's all those weird fears.
And then there's really angry pizza now.
Yeah. Did you take my pizza? It's like, yeah. Then you have that angry one. Just screaming. They're like, okay, not so aggressive. And you're like, ugh.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a bad cereal. I just need to get the aggression out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where that joke came from. It wasn't even very good.
Well, I think it was great.
Thanks. Glad someone did. And still with Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, what would you say are your favorite memories from your time working on the show?
It sucks because as much. Like, you record by yourself, so I didn't meet anyone else. But I think like my best memory of it was just like doing, like, I love being creatures and characters, and I don't get much of a chance to do a lot of that stuff at all, because doing like commercial work, it's like my commercial acting is just my voice. Like, I don't change my voice from what it is. So when if you listen to my demo reel, or if you took every voiceover I ever did for commercials and put them together, like, it's just me talking. Like, the character might be, like, I don't change my voice, but it's my same voice, but my character might be a little different. Like, I might be more of a slacker guy or a business person or something like that. But for Regulus, I think it was just being able to do a cartoon that was like sort of like just to do cartoons was so awesome. But then it's also being like a creature. It wasn't my voice. I got to really like get into being that guy, and also the story of how I booked it, where I just did a stand-up show. And then a woman came up to me and was like, "Hey, I want you to do this cartoon." And I was like, okay. Like, that was like that is my fondest memory, is like being booked and then going in and like going through different voices till we finally found that one voice to go on. So I think that was it. I wish I had more time with that show, but that's all I had.
Yeah, well, that is still a very impressive memory to have, after all.
Yeah.
I mean, not every actor, including on YuGiOh, can say that they didn't have to even audition for the role.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah, that's really great. That's a really great way to book the show, for sure.
Yeah, true.
Now, you act in a lot of different mediums, as we've mentioned, including voiceover, on camera, and on stage. Yeah. What is the biggest difference you feel between each of these mediums and the way you give a performance?
I think with stand-up, it's me. Like, stand-up, it's all me. I'm alone on stage. I don't have a persona. Like, I don't do a character on stage. Like, when you watch my stand-up videos on YouTube, it's my real life experiences, my voice, my point of view, everything is me. So like, my purest form of myself is me as a stand-up, which I've been doing as long as all this stuff. So like, going to do that, it's that's me in my purest form. Then I do a lot of improv comedy, which is all characters and team based. Like, you're on an improv team with a bunch of people. So then again, in improv, you can't really be the shining star. You have to do a lot of support, a lot of listening. And also, improv comedy is like building sketch before your eyes. Like, you guys are based out of the UK, right?
Well, I'm in the Republic of Ireland, but yeah, near the UK.
Good, great. I was just in Dublin not too long ago. I was doing shows in London, came through, but like, long form improv is brand new in London, so it's like, it's something cool to check out if you're visiting. It's like just starting there. But improv is like the only stage stuff I do. I don't do plays, I don't do Broadway, I don't do any of that stuff. But when you go into commercial work, it's such a different thing. But what I bring to my commercial acting aspect is my wits, my improv comedy wits, because improv makes your brain run faster and like find things that are funny more and like react real. And then as a stand-up, I also have my comedy timing. So then if a spot is supposed to be funny, which usually the spots are, 90% of the commercial spots I do are like little radio sketches, they should be funny. So then like, they always want to hire someone who has a stand-up background or has a comedy background, because we can deliver the line funny. And it's great when I do those roles and make like the casting director laugh or the audio engineer laugh. Like, it's such a fun thing to do a commercial role and then like make someone laugh. And then cartoons and video games is completely different, because it's acting and it's not me, and it's, you're in a character. So cartoons, video games are a big challenge for me. I found it's the hardest out of all of them, that I feel the most not too comfortable with, and I feel just very like I don't want to screw up. So yeah, that's about the big differences for those different things I do. But they all bleed together. My comedy helps my commercial work helps my cartoon work, and all of that stuff helps everything. So it's like, they all go hand in hand. If I was doing illustration still, it'd be like a weird thing of like, how does your art help your comedy or whatever? And I would just be like, it doesn't, because I just don't really do it much anymore.
It's really interesting. Thanks for such an interesting
Sure.
answer on the subject.
Well, thank you.
Do you ever have to go immediately from a voiceover role to an on-camera or stage gig? Is that a challenge for you, going from one character to another, if so?
They switched through. Yeah, not that's. I thought that was such an interesting question, and it's. I don't have to do it because, like, with commercial work, I can just like the only thing that's annoying from doing like a commercial voiceover, let's say in the morning, and then an on-camera spot at night, and or let's say at like 2 o'clock I have a voiceover audition, right? And then at 3:30 I have an on-camera commercial audition, and then let's say at 6:40, like 7 o'clock I have a stand-up show, right? The only thing that gets annoying, I don't ever have to transfer my brain, meaning like I don't have to ever like after doing voiceover like readjust myself to do on camera or do on camera and then be like, now I have to do a stage show. It's like I don't have rituals, I don't have anything. I kind of just I could walk out of an on camera and walk right into a comedy club and go do a set without even wondering, like even changing any kind of thing. I'm really flexible in that, a lot of this stuff comes easy to me, and it's just from years and years of doing it. But the only thing annoying is if I do a voiceover and I know I have an on-camera audition where I have to wear a suit, like that's annoying because then it's like you have to, I'm stuck in a suit doing an audition, and then I have to wear that suit around the hot city, and then like, that's about the hardest thing. It's like the wardrobe change would be the hardest thing from doing like a VO to an on-camera to like on the stage. So yeah, like a wardrobe change is the worst.
That's a really great answer because I know from other people I've interviewed that do voiceover, like that's one of the things they like about voiceover the most is they can literally wear anything to a voiceover, whereas like you said, I can definitely understand that if you have to go right from a voiceover gig or audition to a on-camera piece and you have to wear something like a suit, like that can be pretty frustrating because then you have to wear it in the voiceover booth too. Yeah,
I mean that's the best part of VO is you could wear whatever you want. Like right now I just have a shirt and socks and no underwear on, so I'm very comfortable right now and it's very nice.
Too much information for the listeners, I feel.
I'm sorry, I'm wearing a full suit and a tuxedo I'm going to change into in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was joking anyway, but which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far?
I would think when I did Rockstar's, when I did Bully, which is Rockstar video games, and there's like a huge Bully community that people want the game to be re-released, and I've done interviews for the community. It's a great community that people do. This guy Swagta is he's on YouTube and he does a bunch of videos, but Bully was probably the challenging and one of my favorites I did because I've always loved Grand Theft Auto and I loved Rockstar, and the first thing I got to do with them was Bully, and it was such a weird, cool experience because you go into the booth and they had a camera in front of my face and they were like, I was like, what's the camera for? They're like, well, the animators might use your likeness with the character, for the cutscenes and everything. And the director's like in the booth with you. And that one, Grand Theft Auto games and like Bully is just like, I mean, they give you, they're like, you don't know what the lines are. You have 30 pages in front of you. And every line is like, okay, you ready? So your line is, oh my God, that car just exploded. And it's like, all right, ready? Just give me 2 of them. But like, be like really hyped up. Like, wow, this just happened. Go. And then you're, oh my God, that car just exploded. Like, great. That's great. All right, give me one more time. But like a little more like you can't believe it. Like that was good, but you're more shocked. Ready? Go. Oh my God, that car just exploded. So it's this weird, that was challenging because you have someone in the room with you that's like, ready? Say this line. Say it like this. Go. And you're like, blah. And it's like, great. Okay. Now say this line. Say it like this and go. And you're like, So it was like that was a big challenge. And I don't want to screw it up. I love Rockstar games. And I was like, I'm going to be in a game. And also like, I was excited. I'm like, I'm going to be in a video game. So it was like really cool. I love that job.
That's really cool, and yeah, definitely knowing you could potentially be in a video game.
Yeah, I knew it.
Would
yeah.
make it a bit more challenging for sure.
Oh yeah. And when I auditioned for it, it was under a code name. I didn't know what it was. It was like such a weird, I can't remember the audition. But it's like, they're like, all right, you're high school kids. just you're a high school kid, and they gave me like 3 roles. I think one was the main character, and then one was like, a greaser bike mechanic person, and then I forgot what the third one was. But then, like, I was so surprised I booked it. I was like, whoa, really? I was so excited. But yeah, I love that game. It's great, and I beat it too. It's a great game.
That's nice. That's the most satisfying thing, beating the game.
Oh, it was the best. And like playing, like hearing my own voice be like, oh my God, let's go get him. Let's go. And I'm like, cool.
Well, not every person in acting has that reaction when they hear their voice.
Yeah, I know. It is weird. A lot of actors hate watching their own work, and they don't like, playing the games they do. I don't know if I'm weird, but like a lot of stand-up friends of mine that are comedians, like they can't watch their sets back. Like they can't do it. They're just like, oh, I hate watching myself. I don't know if maybe I am just a vain, self-obsessed person, but I love watching, like anytime I do a stand-up set and I record it, like I laugh as I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so funny. Like I am the most conceited, like, and I'm not delusional. I just enjoy it. I'm like, and I also look at it, if I watch my own stuff, I also want to like tweak it to make it better. But it is weird. A lot of actors hate watching their own work. They're like, I don't want to see this. And I just never got that.
You're very vain, TJ.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I am. And now it's time for the suit. Hang on. There we go.
Yeah. It's kind of refreshing because, like, I've interviewed over 200 people, and I don't ask everyone this. Wait, I just sounded a bit vain there. I don't ask everyone, but of those, like, we have asked, like, pretty much everyone can't watch their own things or can't listen to their own voice.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to finally hear someone say and openly admit they love hearing their own voice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, call me like conceited or cocky. I don't care. I enjoy it. I'm like, I like it.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. Like I said, it's refreshing to hear someone openly admit they really enjoy listening to themselves.
Yeah.
Now, my final question for you, TJ, do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. One is I have a video game comedy radio show called Unlimited Lives Radio, and it's on we have a Facebook group, we have a Facebook page, we're on a just like you have channel 1138, we have Cave Comedy Radio, which has a ton of great comedy radio shows. They're all hosted by stand-up comedians, and we have a bunch of great shows like Last Podcast on the Left. We have some nerdy ones like The Wizard and the Bruiser. So then Unlimited Lives Radio, we're on Twitter at UnlimitedSXM. We broadcast on Twitch every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's a radio show where we talk about, we talk about the news and make fun of it. It's me and 3 other comedians. We have a quiz. We have an amazing comedy community on Facebook that is breeding positive, helpful gamers with each other. And I've been gaming for forever since Nintendo NES came out. But I feel like gaming has, it's like the internet culture. Like internet culture is very like vile and poisonous sometimes, and that also breeds into like the gaming culture. Like if you're trying to play games on Xbox over with strangers, like it's always people being like racist or sexist or just like gross with each other and just being trolls and being mean. And Unlimited Lives Radio, our Facebook group is so positive. Like everyone loves that no one's like crappy to each other. Everyone's just really like supportive and joking around. It's beautiful. So that's definitely a huge project that I do consistently every week. It's a weekly show on iTunes as well. And then I just have my, Twitter at TJ Del Reno and Instagram and Facebook, and you could add me, follow me, and ask me questions. I answer messages. Like, I love all gaming. I love nerd stuff. When I saw you email me about Everything Geek, I was so excited. I'm like, what is this? Like, I was so thrilled. Because I love our geek culture that we do. But yeah, and then the only project I have that's not done yet in the works is there's a bunch of people that do minute by minute podcasts, and they're like the Star Wars Minute, the Alien Minute, and then my friends do one called the Fifth Element, and they literally they dissect a movie minute by minute, and it's like you have like 200 episodes because every minute is like a 30-minute episode. So I'm doing one called the Elm Street Minute, which is a Nightmare on Elm Street minute by minute, which I'll have on my Twitter and my website, TJ Del Reno, as well. But yeah, that's all my cool stuff. Comedy, you just have to message me when you're in the city. Like if you're coming to New York, just be like, hey, where are you going to be at? And I'll be like, I have an improv show, I have a stand-up show, and come see the show and hang out. I love hanging out with fans and people. That's awesome.
That's very exciting, and I'm glad you were so excited when you got our email.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge nerd and a huge geek, so it's like I love talking about like geek stuff. I love talking about myself. Like my favorite part of this was talking about myself. I did so good.
Yeah, we were joking, calling you vain and conceited before, but well,
that's right. Yeah, well, I brought it to the next level, and I'm gonna fix my tie right now because this suit is uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I also have to say I really like what you were saying there about the positive community with your radio show, because I also feel, especially definitely there are examples of it in the gaming community. I also think that it's just like, I mean, obviously internet culture can sometimes be bad, and not so friendly people on it, but I also feel like it's gotten so competitive.
Yeah.
Like so many gamers are trying to one up each other. Podcasts, well, and like we have some really great podcasts on the channels, but you do see podcasts elsewhere on social media that are trying to one up other podcasts. It's just sad. Like I feel like every gamer or every podcast should have something they're really good at. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. Just focus on what you enjoy. Don't do something just to try and be better than someone else.
Or just and it's also just like not like it's also like it's always like it's such a weird thing to have to say it because it's what you learn as a child, but it's like if you treat people how you want to be treated, it's like everyone's going to be cool. Like my radio group is everyone's so cool. People ask questions like, hey, and we have a lot of like older gamers and younger gamers. So we have a bunch of people being like, hey, I'm a dad. Any dad gamers here have great suggestions for games I could play that my 3-year-old can watch me play, and like, no one's writing like, screw you, you're an idiot. Everyone's just like helping out or joking around. It's such a great positive community. Same with our chat. When we do our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/unlimited lives radio, it's the same thing. Our chat group is like, we ban anyone trolling. No one's a jerk. It's like a hangout. Everyone just hangs out. We do the show. We talk to the chat. They talk to us. They talk to each other. Like the chat becomes its own comedy show because they're all, I don't know, our fans are just really funny and everyone's just being funny with each other, and it's awesome. It's one of my favorite. My radio show is my favorite thing that I've ever started doing, and it's been going on for I think three or 4 years. It was at Sirius XM first, and now it's on Cave Comedy Radio. But I love it. But yeah, that's it. It's just I like positivity. It's no point in being a jerk. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, I completely agree. And for the record, my podcast is also is my favorite thing I've ever done. And we celebrated our 4-year anniversary on Thursday, so we've been going around the same time.
Oh, that's great! Congrats.
Thanks very much.
Well, I can't listen. I'm gonna promote this on my show on Thursday at 6, and we do it definitely just to try to get I don't know. It's like with all this stuff, it's all helping each other out, It's like, I'm so glad you had me do this. I'm going to plug it. I'm going to plug your show on mine. Be like, I did this rad interview, and everyone's going to, hopefully bring some traffic to you. And I mean, it's just like, just keep helping each other out, especially with geek podcasts are so hard to sustain and grow. But if you build that community of podcasts, just helping each other out and being like a circular fan base, it just helps out.
Yeah, absolutely, and maybe I'll be on your show someday.
Oh, that'd be great. Oh, that'd be awesome. If we could ever figure out how we do this Skype thing that you did, I'd be 100% down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also what you were saying as well, the positivity. I just love that, how you make sure no one is jerks. Everyone's a nice feature, because I see similar pages with more followers, but then you see the comments on the page or their Twitter or whatever, and there's like negative people, and I'm just like, I'm happier having a smaller fan base. Like, I mean, well, fan base, that's egotistical. Like, having a smaller following, as long as they're really nice and really passionate people in a good way. And, like, I've only ever had to block, like, a couple of people, like, handful at most. Yeah, just a couple of people, wasn't even a handful. But, like, you know, I just feel so, you know, lucky that, you know, we've got such a positive and good community following us, so I can definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's cool. Same with us. We have like our group only has like 600 people, I think, in it, but there's the same like 30 people I think active on it that are just like, we just constantly post each other. Like I post in the page all the time, like just questions or goofy things, and it's on Facebook, which is great. But yeah, I'd rather have a small group of really great people than 30,000 strangers that are just like, you know, that you have this vicious, you know, group you're creating because you're like, well, I have 30,000, you know, subscribers, but they're all jerks. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like with friends as well. Like, you'd rather have a smaller number of really great friends than like a large number of, you know, good friends, but not friends you hang out with like all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do the same thing. I have a small group of like friends that I really like. Yeah, it's such a cool thing. Your work reflects your, you know, your social life too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, TJ, a couple of our listeners also have questions for you.
Yes.
And they're very passionate, you know, they're a good bunch.
Good.
Yeah, so first of all, Florence Chask would like to know, is stand-up comedy tough? What's the best way to prepare so you don't get nervous in front of a crowd?
I think Florence, thank you. And if Florence, there's a lot of, especially if wherever Florence lives, I know Dublin has a really big comedy scene. Ireland's getting one because I know Desmond, a buddy of mine, Desmond, he was a huge comic out there, moved to New York and he was telling me about it. But I think it's like you're always going to get nervous on stage. Like there's no way around it unless like I have about like 12, 13 years under me. So it's like, I don't care, but I still get nervous. If there's like a manager watching or an agent or someone like important, like I still get like like nervous. Or if I host a show and like, you know, or if I'm on a show and like Chris Rock drops in or something, like that's happened where it's like, I have to go after him and it's like, cool. But I think it's just like write your material, do just practice, do open mics, practice, but you're always going to feel nervous. But then you could use those nerves to just like, that nerves is adrenaline that'll just, you know, fire your body up to where you'll hyper focus because your adrenaline is racing. It's very weird, but the nerves are good because they boost your adrenaline that you could like be laser focused on what you're doing. But I think Florence should do it. Just do stand up. It's fun. Write some stuff, write your opinions, write about your childhood. A lot of comics don't do that. Just write about your childhood, your dad, your mom, your growing up, anything. That stuff is more relatable than whatever your opinions are about news articles or something like that.
Yeah, and people actually get paid to give those opinions.
Crazy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do. I know.
Yeah, but that's such a really good answer.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for answering Florence's question of that. And she also wanted to know about your Pokemon roles, but you already answered that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Without being asked to, so...
that's right.
Yeah, now, Florence, you know that he voiced a couple of grunts, very exciting.
Yeah, and just lines of like, oh, is that a Pikachu? Like those kind of simple things.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier you were a big Pokemon fan, so like even just getting to mention Pikachu in a quote must have been cool.
It was awesome. I mean, I watched Pokemon in high school when it first came out. Pokemon Red was my first Game Boy game I played. I loved it, and it was the best. That and Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I have to confess, I still sometimes play the Pokemon and YuGiOh games on the Game Boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm playing Moon right now. It's really good.
Definitely. And finally, Michael Chan would like to know, have you played with YuGiOh cards before?
Thank you, Michael, for your question. And I hate to depress you, but no, I never did. The only card games I ever played, physically card games, was Magic the Gathering. which I still play Magic now, and I play Flux a lot, even though it's not Yu-Gi-Oh. But no, I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh. I think by the time Yu-Gi-Oh came out, I was already like 20. I don't know how old I was. I had to be like 17 or 18. Like I think I was like, Pokemon was even playing Pokemon. I think when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, I still felt kind of weird about playing Pokemon. Like I felt like I was too old for it. So when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, I didn't get into it because I felt like I was too grown up to play it, even though every apartment I own, including this one, has Transformers and toys on display. So it's like, it's a weird hypocritical, like I was like, I'm not playing with baby card games, and then I'm playing like Pokemon Red on my Game Boy, and playing with toys like a dummy. But yeah, no, I never played Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm sure one day you will. I mean,
One day.
Yeah, look at it this way. Like, I mean, you can say something not a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cast members can, because one, you voice a creature rather than a human character, and two, that creature is a card as well. So you definitely, at the very least, if you don't play the game, at least get Regulus's card at some point.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to find. Even Regulus, I don't think they made toys. It's just a card. I wanted a Regulus toy to put in my room so bad. But yeah, I think I'm definitely looking to get a Regulus card because I do want it. But yeah, I wish I did play it, because then at least if I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh and I attack someone with Regulus, I could be like, slash attack or something like cool. So I should look in again playing it a little bit.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. Putting on your Regulus voice, like that would just completely intimidate anyone to just giving up there and then.
I should go do that playing anime conventions, just throwing people off, trying to beat them at Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. You should have a whole deck just with Regulus.
Yeah, just a Regulus deck.
Yeah. A recreation of the Lion King, but just with Regulus.
That'd be so rad. I'm going to work on that now.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you have to give me some kind of credit in the script or whatever.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll just be like, listen to channel 1138. And they're like, what? I'm like, you're going to die. And then I just take them out.
yeah, that would make a lot of sense to do so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all of our questions for you today,
cool.
TJ. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it. I'm gonna retweet this. And also I'll pitch it on my radio show, which is Thursdays at 6 Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, this was great, man. Thank you so much. I'm so pumped.
You're very welcome, and thanks very much, and hopefully we can talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, anytime, man. And I think I can maybe I could see about my friend. I could possibly try to see if I can find you other voice actors that live in the city that will want to do something like this. It'd be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right, sweet. This was awesome.
Thanks very much, and I'll look forward to talking to you again sometime. Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Time to wrap up today's show. Make sure to check out our podcast links, check out our website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP, check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast, check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast, check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp, check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official everythinggeekpodcast, check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast, email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comiccast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/septusdestroyers. Check out TJ Del Reno's website, www.tjdelreno.com, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
him in and was like, don't even worry about the script. I'll feed you what's happening like as we go along. And so I after the film wrapped, I went back to New York, and I think at some later.
In the end, into like somebody who's a little bit more powerful, but also a little more emotional. And then Leo and Luna, that was my first role where I was playing two characters that were talking directly to